He was once incredibly weak and on the verge of death, and now he's been summoned by a goddess to fight the Demon Lord. What a glow up. We start things off by being told that the goddess of fate will one day choose 6 heroes. These heroes will stop the awakening of demons that will turn the world into a living hell. These 6 that are chosen will be known as the Braves of the 6 Flowers. Hey look, it's the name of the anime. Inside a sort of Aztec looking city, we meet a mysterious man who interrupts a holy semi-final competition being held between 2 warriors. The man, Adlet Maya, proclaims himself to be the strongest warrior in the world, and says that he's changing things in this tournament up a bit, telling the 2 warriors to fight him instead of each other. Annoyed, the warriors begin walking away from him, calling for the guards, which Adlet disposes of with ease. He then begins fighting with the 2 warriors, and after using a wide range of tools and combat expertise, he manages to defeat the both of them. He then proclaims to the giant statue embodying the goddess of fate that she must pick him to become a brave, as he's proven himself the strongest man. He then gets crash tackled and finds himself thrown in jail because of the actions he had taken interrupting the competition. That night, a maid girl enters the jail cells wanting to talk with Adlet, where they discuss the origin belonging to the Braves of the 6 Flowers and how all signs are pointing to the demon god once again awakening within this year. He once again confirms how confident he is that he will be chosen as a brave and states that he wishes to fight alongside the princess of this land, Nachitanya, which is another reason why he interrupted the competition, as the winner gets to fight her. She leaves, and the next day he is thrown into an even more desolate jail cell, and after spending quite some time down there, he begins to have nightmares about the demon god's awakening. Tendrils of light begin to bear down on him, and he wakes up with pain coursing through his hand, and we then see a mark on his hand, indicating that he has been chosen as one of the Braves. Just then, the same maid girl from earlier shows up, introducing herself properly, telling him that she is Nachitanya, the crown princess of this land and also one of the chosen 6 Braves. She then breaks him out of his jail cell, and the 2 then leave on horseback, making their way to the west, where the aura of his nightmare was originating from. Along the way, Adlet picks up some of his belongings he left from a hideout, before they then stop at an orchard farm after traveling for a while. As they take a break for lunch, Nachitanya shows off some of her abilities she possesses as a Saint of Blades, explaining that a saint is a special set of abilities some women get blessed with by the gods. As they continue on, Nachitanya explains how a knight she knows named Goldov has left in search of an individual that has been killing people with the potential of becoming braves, and she laments that she hasn't heard word of him for 6 weeks. They then come across a village that's been terrorized by demonic fiends, and both spring into action, although for Nachitanya, this is her first time fighting against fiends, and while she does a pretty good job, she does get saved by Adlet. Afterwards, Adlet is told by one of the villagers that there is still someone left in the village, and as he goes to try and save her, he is stopped by Nachitanya, who tells him that they can't save everyone, and fighting this demon god is the most important thing they can do right now. Adlet agrees with her, before saying psych and making his way back to the village to save the girl. As he leaves, he once again says he is the strongest man in the world. Yeah, he says that a lot. Like, a lot. I think it's like some kind of tic he has. Just then, more demons begin to attack Nachitanya. Adlet makes his way into the destroyed village, where he finds a fiend dead on the ground, killed by a gunshot.
Bullets! I only witnessed.
He then rounds a corner and sees a woman, armed with that thang, saving the animals that were left behind when the village was abandoned. Who would leave behind their pets? Come on now. As he approaches the woman, whose name is Fremi Speedraw, he can see that she also has a mark indicating her as a brave. But she then pulls her gun on him, asking if he's come to kill her. Back to Nachitanya, and we can see that she has managed to kill the fiends, but at the cost of her horse. When an unknown man rides up, kneels before her, and announces himself as Goldov, who then tells Nachitanya that the one who has been killing braves and those with potential has white hair and is armed with a gun. I wonder who that could be. After some brief talking, Fremi tells Adlet to leave her alone, explaining that she is the Saint of Gunpowder and is planning to fight the demon god all by herself, before she then runs away. Not quite done with the conversation, Adlet grabs his things from the horse and begins to chase after her, and even though it does take some time, he eventually corners her. He tells her that he can't understand why she would want to try and fight the demon god alone, when it will take all 6 Braves of the Flower to defeat him. She says that if she explains to him the reason, then him and any of the other Braves will try to kill her, and she then says she doesn't want to see him again before running off. Frustrated, he pulls out a smoke bomb and throws it at her, before running up and stealing the pouch of bullets she uses, declaring that they will now be traveling together and saying, again, that he is the strongest man in the world, and he will be able to save her from any of the other Braves if what she is saying about her past is true. Elsewhere, Nachitanya and Goldov finish cleaning up the rest of the fiends in the village, when Adlet's horse runs up to the both of them and they find a note left in its saddle, which is from Adlet, explaining his situation and telling her to continue on towards the peninsula where the demon god resides without him, as he has met with another member of the Braves. After traveling on, Adlet and Fremi eventually come across a fortress that is seemingly under attack. They make their way to the front gates and explain that they are Braves. Once inside, however, the commander says that a battle against the fiends took place here recently and have pretty much wiped out all of the guards. He goes on to explain that the fiends were trying to get to a part of a barrier built into the fortress by the Saint of Salt, which can block off the peninsula from the demon god's lair to the main continent, but says that the activation point is farther on down near the peninsula. As Adlet and Fremi continue on, they are suddenly attacked by Nachitanya and Goldov, with Nachitanya warning Adlet to stay away from Fremi. As the battle continues and Fremi is getting pushed by Nachitanya and Goldov, Adlet demands that everyone stop, saying that she isn't their enemy, she is one of the Braves, much to the shock of Nachitanya and Goldov. Fremi then admits to Adlet that they're right, naming off several other Braves that had been chosen and numerous other warriors with the potential to become Braves, saying that she killed them to bring back the return of the demon god, as if she killed all the strong members, no one would be left to stop it. Just as the fight is about to resume, Adlet stands in front protecting her, stating that someone who wants to defeat the demon god would never be chosen as a member of the Braves, and so right now, they're not enemies. Everyone else then buys this and they just sort of accept her into the group and travel onwards. As they get close to the temple that activates the barriers, they find a large number of fiends blocking the way, and so Adlet runs off by himself to try and secure the temple. However, after exploding the door, a fog starts to settle into the surrounding area, indicating that the barrier must have been already activated. And as he makes his way inside and up some stairs, he finds a sword left behind from the temple being activated. The rest of the group then catches up, and they discover that due to the barrier being activated in such a way, they are now trapped here and have no way to turn it off. Just then, the rest of the members belonging to the Braves begin to show up. Shamot, Mora, and Hans. Now, if you're an attentive listener, that would make the tally of people here 7, which is a problem as there's only ever been 6 Braves, never 7. They then deduce that one of them isn't who they're saying they are. Adlet and Hans then go outside to try and find an escape to the barrier, but all they manage to do is go around in circles. When they get back, they see Fremi tied down as she is the prime suspect of being the extra brave. Mora then suggests that they all introduce themselves to each other in order to gather information and figure out this mess. They all introduce themselves, with Fremi going last. Whilst Fremi is explaining herself, it's revealed that she is a half-human, half-fiend entity, born from a human father and a fiend mother. Yo, I've seen how a lot of these fiends look. What the f*** is wrong with her dad? Fremi is then cleared, as if she was the 7th Brave, it would make no sense for her to not kill Adlet beforehand when they were alone. But Hans then accuses Adlet of being the 7th. As he is an assassin, he is familiar with doors like this. Once they open, they don't close, and Adlet was the first one in here, meaning it must be him. In the confusion about being accused, Goldov charges at Adlet, when he throws a flashbang on the ground and takes Fremi as a hostage, knocking her unconscious and escapes the temple. As he is escaping, Hans throws a dagger which takes him in the back. He then passes out due to blood loss while running away. While he is unconscious, we get a flashback to his past, of when he first went to train with his master, begging him to teach him so he can become the strongest in the world and defeat the fiends when they come. His first lesson, while being beaten up, was to always smile in the face of despair. Pretty good lesson. Interesting way of teaching it. When he awakens, he finds himself having been patched up by Fremi, who is only 99% sure he is the 7th Brave. They then talk a bit about their past, and while opening up slightly to each other, Adlet explains how his master, Atro Spiker, taught him how to fight and even made sure he learnt science, taking him from a scrawny, almost dead child into the strongest man in the world. He also then explains that one day when he was a child, a fiend that had 3 wings came to their village. Quite the dapper gentleman, if I do say so myself. And the fiend then convinced the village elders that they were to move the village into the domain of the demon god, as there was no way the 6 Braves could win this time. Fremi then confirmed that this was the same fiend who convinced her mother to give birth to her. Because of this, Adlet explains his best friend and sister died protecting him while escaping the village. Fremi then tells her story of her mother trying to kill her, which makes her furious of her kind and she forever hates them, especially the demon god. They then part ways and Fremi heads back. After making her way inside the temple, the other Braves devise a plan to capture capture and kill Adlet. And so, the group divides themselves up, going to search for him. While they're gone, Adlet goes to the temple, but Hans stuck around and they begin to fight. Adlet then takes the battle into the forest, all the while trying to convince Hans that he isn't the imposter, but his words aren't enough. Adlet eventually puts it all on the line, trying to prove to Hans that he isn't the seventh by tricking and disarming him, instead of killing him when he had the chance. This proves his innocence, when Hans then tells the unarmed Adlet that he is the seventh brave, charging at him, slicing his throat open. Except he's fine, and Hans explains that he made him hallucinate, trying to see his dying moments and found out that Adlet is chill. Meanwhile, Nachitanya speculates that Hans might actually be the seventh brave, and is asking Goldov for help. Adlet and Hans then go back to the temple to find clues, but then find Shamot outside, where she then attacks both of them by summoning fiends from her power, being the Saint of the Swamps. Adlet and Hans fight against Shamot, but no matter what they do, her fiends always regenerate, making them impossible to deal with. They then get the great idea of attacking the person summoning and not focusing on the ads. Working together, they manage to incapacitate her. They then capture her and begin a bit of an interrogation. They asked her if she knew anything about the activation of the barrier, and she nods no. Believing her, Adlet goes to search for more clues, and uses the bomb that Fremi gave him to signal to her. They then meet up, and Adlet explains what he thinks had happened, and how they're being used by the seventh brave, in a very confusing manner. Fremi then disagrees completely with his hypothesis, and back at the temple, Hans is telling Mora and Shamot the same thing, which they also disagree on. Elsewhere, Nachitanya confirms with Goldov that no one else has died, by checking on her crest. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. It only takes a second and it really helps me out.